Hi everyone, I'm Larissa Russell of Creative You, and I'm your host of the Creative Soul Healing Podcast. Here's where we talk about the connection between creativity and healing by interviewing amazing creatives, spectacular healers, and inspiring people who have used creativity in their healing. What does it mean to be creative? What is creativity? You don't have to write a best-selling book or paint a masterpiece or even play in a rock band. Creativity is in everything that we do, in the ways we think, in the way we run a business. In our everyday lives, we are creative all the time. Let's talk about how we are creative and how creativity helps us heal mentally, physically, and emotionally, right now on the Creative Soul Healing Podcast. Hi everyone, I'm Larissa Russell of Creative You. Welcome to the Creative Soul Healing Podcast. Today I have with me Kayla Huszar. Kayla was one of our presenters for the Loving, Healing, Creating Summit that we ran February 2nd through 14th. And we absolutely loved having her. You can still get access to that summit at www.creativeyou.ca. So Kayla is a registered social worker and expressive art therapist doing therapy in atypical ways. Kayla is also a wife, mom, both human and her, as you can hear. She's a self-taught hobbyist, photographer, and her most joyous days are spent in the forest contemplating her place in the world. And she believes in art and creative expression as a way to communicate and heal. So welcome, Kayla.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and I'll get you to introduce your little one.
Sure. This is Isaac. He is 6 months old. And as you said, working mom, he comes with me wherever I go. So here we are.
Here we are. Well, can you share some of your story and your path with us?
Sure. So I became a registered social worker right out of high school. I got my degree, started working for the nonprofit sector, and I got burnt out. And I got a job in the creative field, actually. I started working as an assistant for a photographer where I live in Regina. And I did that for about 3 years. And that creative fire was kind of rekindled. Working in the nonprofit was so rewarding, but it was draining in a way that I can't even describe. And getting back to that creativity and having a job where that creativity was encouraged, just put me on this path to start to want to be creative again, to want to be creative in my life and for my family. And I just started looking at life a little bit differently once I started to have a job that literally was creativity all day long. And that led me to opening a business and getting my expressive arts therapy certificate and doing everything that I'm now doing.
Oh, I love that. So what does healing with creativity mean to you?
Oh man, I think that first off, I think that anything can be creative. You know, in my private practice, I have moms asking me all the time, like, I just don't have time to bring out the paint, and I only have my kitchen table and all those things. And I remind people every day that creativity isn't just in the visual art aspect. It's in the way that you cook. It's in the way that you drive to work. It's in the way that you read books. It's in the way that you dress yourself. You know, there are so many levels to creativity, and incorporating that color and that vibrancy and that all the things that creativity is into your life, not just in the visual art way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you think there's a driving force that inspires you?
Oh, for sure. I think what inspires me is honestly, once I became a mom, it was like all of that creativity was rekindled again. I would say I was a practicing creative up until that point, but watching my oldest, who's 4, just uninterrupted, uninhibited, like paint and play and imagination. And, you know, like our backyard bushes can be monsters. They can be robots. They can be like so many things that I think the driving force for me right now is them. But it's also just that there is so much more to life than going to work and coming home and eating and going to bed. And so the driving force for me is that I want color and vibrancy and all those things in my life and in other people's lives all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you have a past pain that's informed your life purpose?
Oh, I think our pain informs us on a day-to-day basis and we don't even know it. And so I think there is a lot of things about my childhood, only child, raised by a single mom. She worked so hard to provide us with the things that we needed. And I think that's it. In my private practice, my target market is moms, not only because I think that moms are way too hard on themselves, but because the transition to motherhood, I think, is a lot stronger than people realize. And I want to support women through that, through creativity. So for me, I wouldn't necessarily call it pain because I'm not in that place anymore. But I think that moment of growth absolutely directs what I do every day.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And what would you say is your favorite creative healing modality for yourself?
Oh, give me a paper and some pastels, and I could do that all day long. That is my absolute favorite. Second to music and dance. Those would be my those would be my three for sure.
Yeah. And what would you say is your greatest accomplishment to date?
Opening my business. And so it's, I don't know how many of your listeners are business owners or are looking to be business owners, but that absolutely has been my biggest accomplishment. Second to becoming a mom in this capacity, I've got my professional hat on. With my personal hat, it would be becoming a mom. But in this capacity, starting a business, it brings out so much self-doubt. You are the driving force. If people don't come, is it about you or is it about what you're offering? Is it your message? All of that stuff has been my biggest accomplishment so far.
Oh, I totally agree with that one. It's such a growth um, enhancer because you have to deal with all of those things when you open a business. You have to look at yourself and you have to, understand, it's not all about you. So it's so true. So
Yep.
if you could change one aspect of our society through your work, what would it be?
Oh, that mothers are not so hard on themselves, that they do not have to be perfect. They do not have to have all of these expectations and do all of the things.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that leads us into what inspirational advice would you give someone who is struggling?
Oh man. Um, I've had my clients tell me a few times that I've got like two catchphrases, and it's one, that it's okay that it's not okay. It's okay that you feel like garbage. And it's okay that it feels hard and stressful, and maybe it won't get better, but it likely will. And so those kind of cliche, like this too shall pass, or, you'll want your kids back when they're 25 and not 3. And all of those things are 100% true. There are, grandmas, they want babies again. And so it's hard when their kids are, 25 and all of those things. But, that would be it, that it's okay that it's not okay, and that you can find gentleness and self-compassion in what you do, for sure. You just need the right guide, and whether that guide is a Reiki master or a therapist or a massage therapist that you really connect with, like that person can really be anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you touched on sort of some of the quotey type things, but do you have an inspirational quote that sums up your life journey?
There is a poem that was read to me in my expressive arts therapy training, and one of the lines is, "Are you showing up with love?"
Mm.
And that phrase, I ask myself that on a daily basis. In this moment, how am I showing up with love? For me, for others, for the environment, for the world, for my clients, for the community at large, for my garden. Am I showing up with love today?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. I love that. So is there anything else you'd like to add that maybe haven't discussed today or you'd like to share with our listeners?
I think if you are in a place where you're struggling, I think if you can find the bravery to just tell one person, just tell one person. And if that person diminishes it or isn't giving you what you need or doesn't empathize, then you talk to just one more person, and you talk to one more person until your needs are met.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, I want to thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Us.
Yeah. And for our listeners, we will see you next week. And in the meantime, I wish for you amazingly creative days. Have a great week. Thank you for listening in. Please remember to like, share, subscribe wherever you are watching or listening. You can find us at www.creativeyou.ca. That's www.creative and the letter U.ca, because we're in Canada reaching out to the whole world. See you next time on the Creative Soul Healing Podcast.